What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin Cash today, BCH USD. Shout out to the Dragon Riders in the House of the Dragon. Hit that like button and subscribe. Thank you all for being here. It is the 24th day of June, and here we are at about $192. I want to pull up the BCH BTC chart, and maybe we can start there. I want to go over this and just see what's going on, what we might expect, because I am expecting that Bitcoin moves down more from here. And if Bitcoin moves down and the BCH BTC chart doesn't look good, that might mean that Bitcoin Cash moves down more as well. If it looks decent, if the BCH BTC chart looks like it wants to move up, well, Bitcoin Cash can still move down, just maybe not as much as Bitcoin, which would be the preferred outcome, or maybe even moving up, which is the most preferred outcome. But let's look at that BCH BTC chart first, and then we'll shift into the BCH USD stuff. Okay, we are slowly slumping lower, but again, what we're doing here, it is certainly different than what we've been accustomed to for most of this drop. And volume is dying off, volume's depleting. Typically when you're in a consolidation zone, which it's very clear that we are, volume dies off and then you break out one way or the other and volume comes back in. So we'll see, and we'll have that validated by the levels of volume that come in ideally. Looking at BCH BTC here, still a consolidation phase here as well. You look at the daily time frame, this seems like bullish divergence to me. This looks like severe bullish divergence on the daily time frame, and this generated back here, all the way back here. You've seen a move up. This might have been fulfilled already. I don't know. I like what we're doing here, but time will tell. If we do drop lower, maybe we form another drive of bullish divergence, or maybe perhaps we break out of this entirely and then we just see a lower low and we have to reset ourselves. But for now, the RSI certainly is very bearish. There's a bullish setup here. We'll see if we take that bullish setup. Stochastics are incredibly bearish. I don't think I've ever seen anything this fierce to the downside. It's incredible. Right here, let me zoom in a little bit. Right here, the blue is rejecting the oversold zone. The orange is coming up. We want the blue to stay above the orange. We want them both to be pointed up. But if you're rejecting the oversold zone and the orange starts to point down too, that could be bad. I mean, you've been here for a long time. You would assume that you don't stay here forever. But just because you don't stay here forever, just because you come back up, doesn't mean that you're seeing a move that's super vibrant, right? Here, you were overbought forever. Let me try to fix that. You were overbought for a very consistent amount of time, right? And bouncing off the 50. It wasn't as terrible as this. This was still pretty good, but it wasn't as dramatic as this was here. And whenever you broke down to the oversold zone, the move that you got to the downside was this. It was very insignificant. So the move to the upside could be this. It could be very insignificant if we were to get overbought. Still, you carried on. Still, we could carry on. Looking at this with the MACD, MACD is bearish overall, but you're building some bullish momentum for now. The MACD's got a little bit of a bullish inclination to it, but still bearish overall. Very, very bearish times, you guys. When we look at this on the weekly time frame, we are at the all-time low area for BCH BTC. Now, typically, throughout Bitcoin Cash's history versus Bitcoin, whenever we hit these all-time low levels, we break through and we see a sizable low below there. Come back up, find resistance at that level. Here we kind of grinded it out, and then once we broke below it, we went sizably below that level. Then we came back up, found resistance right at the prior all-time low, and then as we came down, we grinded it out for a little bit, broke down, found resistance at the prior all-time low, and then continued to push lower. Okay. Here now, however, the only difference is these lows have been very consistent in their timing, right? I mean, from here 2017 to 2018, 2018 to 2021, 2021 to 2023. Within a 1 year to 3 year period, or 1 year to 2 year period. Here, 2023, we did see a lower low in 2025, 2 years later, but it was not as low. And instead of finding resistance at the prior low, we actually went up. We've been doing something different here. Bearish stuff aside right here, we've been doing something different since, really since 2022. The different stuff didn't start really coming into view, though, probably until 2023, 2025. But it is something different. And then you zoom out, you can really see the difference that it's had on this chart, right? We went from having this lower high, lower low scheme. We're still on the verge of forming a lower new all-time low, and technically you don't have a higher high here yet. But it is different. This little nugget here is different. This nugget of excellence might provide some growth. This does, to me, look like a rounded bottom pattern. And I do remember saying throughout this whole time, even when we were super bullish on Bitcoin Cash, that we could go lower than this and still have that rounded bottom come out. And we could go lower than this and still have that rounded bottom come out. Rounded bottoms take time. And I do remember saying, even though we were bullish on Bitcoin Cash last cycle, I was I was pretty bullish on Bitcoin as well. So it made sense that this wouldn't go up a tremendous amount for the targets that I had with Bitcoin Cash. I did say last cycle that it would likely be the next cycle, which is this coming bull market, which should probably be in 2028, 2029. Maybe we see it come to life a little bit. It establishes itself in 2027. But I think we'll really see life of the next bull market in 2028, 2029. It would be that time frame that we really start to see Bitcoin Cash come to life. It'd be that bull market that we see it come to life. So we've got a lot of time. And these rounded bottoms, they typically do take a lot of time. I mean, you zoom out, you look at this chart, to me, and I'm not just saying this because I love Bitcoin Cash. I do love Bitcoin Cash. But I love it for ideological reasons. And I like the chart for just simplistic reasons. That this, I mean, just look at it, man. It looks like accumulation. It really does. Like, I don't care if this was a stock. If you guys see a stock that looks like this, please throw it in the comments. You see a crypto that looks like this, throw it in the comments. It doesn't have to be versus Bitcoin. Most cryptos versus Bitcoin, they don't do this. They keep going down forever. That's all it is. They don't have a cyclical period where something different's going on. And we'll see. Time will tell. This could be the ravings of a madman in 2 years' time. We could be proven entirely wrong, but I don't think so. Weekly RSI is extremely oversold. We've been this extremely oversold only a handful of times, only a couple of times beforehand, and that was a significant low point before an immense bounce came. We didn't bounce immediately. We consolidated for months. We're probably going to consolidate for months. Whenever we got low here, we didn't bounce immediately. We went lower. We consolidated for months, but then we had an immense bounce. You guys, we get a bounce like this or that. Let's just see. Let's just see. From a low to a high, and then let's take away the extension. We don't need that. Low to high there. And let's take this low to high as well. And let's imagine that we go a little bit lower. Maybe we do see new all-time lows, but just a little bit lower, right? We're in this like consolidation phase. I mean, we see a move like this. We're back up here in this zone where we found resistance before, both of these times. I mean, I would think that we're looking to break out and form the very first higher high versus BTC that we've ever seen. Now, again, this probably doesn't happen tomorrow. We've just gotten down to this level. The last 2 times that we've been down here, we consolidated for months. I mean, this time, whenever we were at the lowest point in the RSI, it was November until March before we moved up higher. It's like 5 months, 4 months, 5 months. We got to this low point here. It was April, late April, and it wasn't until mid-June, late June, that we pumped. It's 2 months, right? It could be 2 months. It could be 5 months. It could be more months. We're in this very boring long-term accumulative phase, but that's why this is so powerful. It shakes out the weak hands. It gives the right-minded people time to accumulate. And I know a couple of things. Without a doubt, unequivocally, I know a couple of things about this time that we've been in Bitcoin Cash. The first thing that I know is that the people who have been in Bitcoin Cash, like myself, since its inception, and I shouldn't say I've been in it since its inception, but I've been paying attention to it since its inception, since the hard fork, I should say. Let's be more academically correct there. Its inception was in 2009, or maybe before that technically, but it was the Genesis block happened with Bitcoin, BTC. They shared the same Genesis block. The hard fork, since this time, if you've been following it and you're still a believer in Bitcoin Cash, like I am, and I know there's a lot of you who are watching this video who are, the first thing is I know a lot of you have been accumulating. You've been accumulating. Maybe you've been accumulating at the high points. Maybe you've been accumulating at the low points. Maybe you just started accumulating again recently, whatever. Maybe you buy on principle every single day, every single week, every single month, whatever the case may be. Once a year, it's your birthday and grandma sends you a check, or mom and dad send you a check, and you put that into Bitcoin Cash, whatever the case may be. There's been a lot of accumulation that's been happening in this area. Okay? And then the second thing that I believe to know is that there are new people who have come into Bitcoin Cash, who have gotten behind the ideological belief that it is the better Bitcoin, that it is true peer-to-peer electronic cash, that it does adhere to the Satoshi white paper far more than BTC does. BTC is digital gold, Bitcoin Cash is digital cash, as it was designed to be. When I say it, I mean as Bitcoin was designed to be. Bitcoin Cash is Bitcoin. And there's more and more people who are realizing that as time goes on. This time where Bitcoin Cash rallied versus Bitcoin for a year really brought in a new, I think, a new generation of investors. However, this is a test of that faith. It really is a test of that faith. You're going to shake people out as well. The people who've been around, they're not being tested. They're being given an opportunity. I know there's a lot of people who are chomping the bit here, man, licking their lips at this right here. And if I'm right in those assumptions, if I'm right in what I believe to know, then this rounded bottom here is only going to persist. It's only going to get better. And as time goes on, we're going to see the same formation that we saw down, but to the upside. I'm talking about not just next cycle. I'm talking about for the cycles to come. And this lasts into the next bear market as well. We're not just going to see Bitcoin Cash outperform Bitcoin in the bull market. We're going to see it outperform Bitcoin in the bear market. And there's a bunch of cryptos now, a bunch of altcoins now, that are outperforming Bitcoin in the bull market. Sorry, the bear market. And the bull market, that's normal, but the bear market. Tron's outperforming Bitcoin in the bear market. Hyperliquid's outperforming Bitcoin in the bear market. Zcash is outperforming Bitcoin in the bear market. This doesn't happen. Maybe for like a week or a month or two, but this doesn't happen. We're in a new age of crypto altogether where BTC does not necessarily dictate every single project. Even no matter how good a project is, it doesn't dictate everything. There are some solid projects outside of Bitcoin Cash that are not being affected by the bear market that Bitcoin has promoted. And next cycle, I theorize during the next bear market, Bitcoin Cash will be one of those. It might have its own bear market. It might have its own stagnant phase, but it won't be as dramatic as Bitcoin's. That's my assumption. Maybe it will be. We'll see. But the case in point being, this is a work in progress, a work in process. I don't know what the right. It's work in process. This is work in progress. Whatever the term is, maybe it's both. It's a process, and we're progressing through this process, and it will take time. And as time goes on, I completely suspect and expect that we are going to see 4% versus Bitcoin. We're going to see 5% versus Bitcoin. We're going to see 13% versus Bitcoin. We're going to see new all-time highs versus Bitcoin as time goes on. And it's when we start to see higher highs here in this chart and higher lows. It's when Bitcoin Cash starts to see new all-time highs. And I mean higher highs cycle after cycle, but new all-time highs altogether, that people all around the world, let alone the crypto space, will start to recognize Bitcoin Cash for what it is. Until then, we might be crazy. But I know you crazy sons of guns are buying some Bitcoin Cash at this price, man. I can't help myself. This is a great time to get in. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor. I do want to see what Zcash is doing during this dump here. Just for my own reasons. BCH, BTC, yep, it's doing exactly what we're thinking it's going to do, baby. 191, 191 right here on the weekly time frame. The RSI is very oversold, very compatible. I mean, it's the most oversold it's ever been, but very compatible with last cycle's low point. Just because you're at your low point in the RSI didn't mean you pumped up immediately. Sure, we saw a little bit of relief, but we really just moved sideways. We moved sideways, guys, from 2022 to 2023. It's a whole year. We could do it again. We could do it for longer. Maybe we do it for half the time. Or perhaps it's something entirely different in itself. Maybe it's more volatile. Maybe we bounce. We actually just move up from here, But regardless, we are at the low point. I do believe we're at the low point. And that low point comes right here, kind of at the base area of this week where we had the great gap of Rohan here moving down. The gap of Rohan took us all the way down. I don't know. It's just, I don't know why I call it the gap of Rohan. Maybe because whenever we cross through the gap, we're in the good areas, but right now we're in the Badlands. I don't know. I need to study my Middle Earth theology a little bit more, probably, before I start saying that stuff. We'll figure it out. We'll get something going on with that. But the great gap, nonetheless, at that weekly close. That's where we are right now finding support. We're at this prior area finding support here. Prior areas of resistance, we could be finding support. We could go lower. We could go down to 160. Maybe we go down to 150. It's possible that in this time of figuring things out that we could go lower. So be open-minded to that. But lower prices are for buying. They're not for panicking. Any buy that you have here, this is not financial advice. This is my perspective. This is what I very much believe. Any price that you buy from now on for the years to come, this is a long-term thing. This is something that when you buy, you're like, I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it until 2028, 2029 at the earliest. I'm not touching it until my grandkids are born at the earliest. However, like long-term stuff. I'm not touching it till $100,000 turns into $10 million. You know, like long term stuff. I thoroughly believe Bitcoin Cash will be worth tens of thousands of dollars by the end of the next bull market, and will be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars either in the next or the following bull, you know, like within the next 2 to 3 bull markets. We're going to see crazy growth. This really is a secondary chance at Bitcoin, at buying. Imagine buying this thing at $191. It really is a second chance. Stochastic has been oversold for a while. The MACD is in shambles. But again, all at these kind of very low, hot areas for bearish momentum. Nothing moves in a straight line. Nothing moves in a straight line forever. And we've been moving in a pretty straight line here for the past couple of months. I just want to see from a high to a low real quick. I want to compare it. It's pretty close, but you know, we could drop a little bit more. And if we see that little bit more of a drop, again, that $150 area, that's right in that ballpark there. If we were to drop just a little bit more, maybe even below 150. It's pretty close to that last bear market finale. This one, though, man, we just fell off a cliff. We just straight fell off a cliff. We dumped it hard, man. Dropped it low. What about this? What about from a low to a high here? Nope. There we go. Golden ratio zone. I mean, we're right there. With this, it to me adds even more reason to believe that we wouldn't go below 170, or if we do, that we'd find support at 140. But we're in that area, guys. It'll seem more obvious after the fact than it does now, but this is a prime area to get into Bitcoin Cash. Absolutely, it is. It's the coin that I have the most conviction for. I love a lot of different cryptos. I have maybe even crazier price predictions for some cryptos in the next bull market, but for the long term, for 10 years or more, if I had a choice where I could only put, if somebody's like, here, I'm going to give you $1 billion. That would never happen. Nobody's going to give me $1 billion. But if you got $1 billion, you know, throw it my way. We can make some money together. What would you do? What coin in the cryptocurrency markets would you feel the most confident putting that money into for 10 years or more? You can't touch it. You have to put it in and then not touch it for 10 years. The answer, first thing to my mind, would be Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin itself is very safe, I think. I think Bitcoin is very safe. I'm one of the few Dragon Riders who, you know, isn't afraid to admit that Bitcoin, I think, is a safe investment. Ethereum, maybe not. I don't know. You know, I'm not convinced. Solana, maybe not. I don't. Dogecoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Monero, Tron. What else? I don't think there's anything else that I 100% believe in my soul will still be relevant in 10 years or more. That doesn't mean that there won't be. Ethereum, XRP, Solana, maybe Sui, Hyperliquid, all these, you know, Pangu, whatever. They maybe they're relevant in 10 years. Maybe they're relevant in 30 years. I don't know. I have confidence that they will be, but 100% confidence, the difference between all those other ones that I named, because I said Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Dogecoin, Monero, and Tron. I'm very confident in all 5 of those. That I'm like 100% confident that they will be relevant in 10 years or more. I'd feel safe putting my money into any of them. The difference, what stands out with Bitcoin Cash out of all of those, is that Bitcoin Cash is the only one that is immensely undervalued. It's the only one. Second to that would probably be XMR. Third to that, it's either Dogecoin or Tron. It's hard to say. And of course, Bitcoin's the one that's it's undervalued still, but it's not the most immense undervalued. Bitcoin Cash is the most immensely undervalued. There's the most opportunity here. It has the best narrative going for it. The only thing is that narrative doesn't matter until price action does its thing. I've talked a lot. I've done a lot of story time. This has been a little bit of a story time with C-Zar. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm going to run through some quick TA and just see if we see any things here in the short term, but it was a lot less TA than I genuinely imagined. I get talkative with Bitcoin Cash. You guys know how it is. Low to high. Yeah, we could go lower. Yeah, RSI, stochastics, MACD. Yeah, we're probably going to go a little bit lower. We're at 191 right now. I expect we'll see prices around 190, or maybe even below 190. We could go to 183, 180 right now. That could happen as well. I'm not really expecting that. Probably that 190, 189 area if I really had to guess. 4-hour time frame. Yeah, still pretty bearish. Stochastics are bearish, wonky, weird, and the MACD is bearish overall as well. We could go lower again, though. We're just, as we're moving lower, volumes dying off. I think we're more in this recovery zone. You can see it here. There's some sharp reactions that we're having. I think we're more in this recovery zone. I would expect that either this next attempt, what I'm kind of thinking is that when we find this low, even if it goes a little bit lower here, what I'm expecting is that when we move up here, instead of doing this or doing this, we're going to do this, and then we're going to move up. We're going to break out. It'll be like this kind of lower high, lower low trend that we're breaking out of. I'm drawing it really ugly, but I don't really care. Looking at the indicators, yeah, they all look bearish right now. So 191.7, we probably go a little bit lower. I don't care. I mean, I have no problem buying here. Maybe we go below that low. And I mean, that is somewhat of a difference, right? Nobody wants to be down, what would that be, like 5%, 2.5%? Nobody wants to be down 3%, 4%, 5%. But I mean, we're talking about probably a 5% difference at the most from the current price. This, if I'm wrong, then, but again, the BCH BTC chart to me checks out, makes me think that we're in an area for support. The weekly chart here, even the daily chart here, makes me think that we're checking out for support here. So, you know, we'll see as time goes on. And if I'm wrong, my suspicion would be if we do go below 180, we'd get some type of very quick flash crash and we'd come back up before you know it. And really, we would still be in this area for most of the time. We might be down there for a day or two, but we probably don't go too far down from here. Because again, we are in this overall golden ratio zone from the low to the high. Right there. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed making it. We're right in the money zone, baby. This is what has been ordained as the money zone. It's called that for a reason. We don't just call it that for no reason. Right there. Take care. Bye-bye. See you later.